Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington. And I am really excited today to be joined by a longtime friend. We were trying to kind of figure out where we first met at a crazy wedding like 3 years ago. It's Adam Tiegs with Adam's DJ Service. And I know you wear a lot of other hats too. So why don't you just introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Adam Tiegs. Adam's DJ Service is my mobile business that I've had since 2003, and I've DJ'd somewhere between 800 and 900 weddings, and well over 2,000 events I've been a part of, whether it's been lighting or audio and video and production. I've been collecting music since the 80s. I've been DJing since about 95 when I went to college, and I was year 2 of college. Learned what a crossfader was and how to use a DJ mixer, mix sources, and I've always been a gear nut. Collecting everything from home stereo amps and speakers to back in the day, these things called cassettes, tape recorders. I used to record the radio and play it back, and I wore out tapes with boom boxes in the 80s. And tell people that the 90s where it all happened in college. I think I wish I would have learned. I wish the internet would have come around maybe 10 years earlier, because I would have learned more earlier in my life. I feel like I'm a late bloomer when it comes to DJing and mixing music, but I've been doing this thing professionally now since it was 03 was the year we decided to start the business. I was DJing in the rave scene, the club scene, and I felt, one, I wasn't making enough money. It was just a hobby at that point, but I wasn't being challenged. I loved mobile events because I had to please more people. I had to please grandmas and grandpas, aunts, uncles, cousins, coworkers, and other family members, friends, and even the kids. And that's why I still love weddings to this day. It's very challenging to find some cohesiveness with planning a soundtrack with my clients. And so the process of it, I still have a passion for meeting with people and really helping them plan their wedding. I've got 2 more weddings to wrap up the year, this Saturday and next Saturday. And I don't know, it's going to be just, I love it. I love what I do.
That's funny. Yeah. Cause, spoiler alert, I have people, fill out this questionnaire. Not that you needed to, I mean, we know who you are, but, I have people fill out the questionnaire to come on the podcast, and it says, how long have you been in business and how many weddings, and like, you've done a lot of weddings, a lot of events, a lot of time. I mean, compared to, I get people sometimes and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if this is the right fit at this point in your career. I mean, you're like above and beyond, just in terms of like longevity and what do you attribute that to, just having like done this so long?
Yeah, I think the time period between what was about 2007 here, my daughter was born. I decided to go multi-op and have other DJs work for me. So I've experienced running a business focused on weddings with multiple DJs. At one point, I think one summer we were doing 6 or 7 weddings every Saturday. And being the manager of the business wasn't what I sought out to do. And so in 2011 or 12 was when I switched my business model, and like Justin Timberlake left NSYNC, I went solo. And it was one of the best decisions I made, because I reduced my workload per week, spend more time with my wife and my 2 kids. Now I have a son that was born in 2012. And I just feel like I'm able to be more dedicated as a father than even my father was. Always working and never able to even come to your baseball game and watch that kind of thing. And I'm blessed in that regard, that I get to do what I love and it pays the bills. So I think that was the key, is really dialing in who I am, what my focus should be, who my ideal clients are even, and being able to reach out to them in a good way. And now instead of doing about 100 weddings a year, I'm only doing about 30 or 40 weddings a year. But it's still about 1 a week almost. And so it does allow me time to focus more on that client, rather than I have 10 weddings this week. I have my 1 wedding that I'm doing, or my 2, but I still have these other clients I got to take care of. And that to me stressed me out because 9 times out of 10, these guys would do a good job. If there's that one time where that guy had a bad day or something, he might have showed up late and that ruined it for that client the rest of the day, even though they did a good job and executed the plan. They were just rushed in setting up or whatever. So, hey, I get it. That's why I try to get there 2 to 3 hours before the wedding to set up. Plain and simple.
Yeah, no, and that's something that, I struggle with too. I subcontract, I have Matt and people that work for me, and, I feel like I would like to think it's a similar good experience that the client gets, but it's a lot more, just stress and headache and, trying to balance, you're getting ready for your wedding, but then you're also trying to figure out, what's someone else doing. And it's definitely something that I think people, struggle with, kind of that weighing the options between doing as many events as you can versus, like you said, having a little bit of sanity and then also, just really devoting 100% to the weddings that you're working.
Yeah. Well, it makes me feel better. I hope it comes through because I spent a lot more time preparing for that particular client. Even today, I got a text from a bride for next week and, something along the lines of Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On," but a dance remix needs to be played. I'm just like, oh man, you go to YouTube, there's several remixes, and I found a good one. And, you share the link back, and hey, will this one work? And then I'm going to go chop it up and edit it and make it a little shorter and more mixable for my collection. And of course, we'll have it for future events out there too. If anyone really wants that song, I did have to play "Let It Go" at a wedding earlier this year for the daughter with special needs of a bride. So it's always those special things. And that's one thing I'm able to do now is give more attention to details like that.
Yeah, that was something that I didn't really appreciate until we got married, was just how important the music was. And I've told the story before that Dorothy, she wasn't really like a bridezilla. It was pretty easy going, but like when it came to music, it was a huge thing, right? Because it's just so integral to, the cocktail hour and the walking down the aisle. What song are you walking down to the dancing, to like definitely, songs that you don't want to have played because maybe you hate that song, I hate the Macarena or whatever, or stuff that like, these special requests. But I mean, talk about that. And as someone obviously that just loves music and has spent so much time, like, just how important that is to the overall kind of scope of the wedding day.
Yeah. Well, again, you can plan a wedding and put a soundtrack to it of music you like. Say you're into death metal. I don't advise that too much, but you can incorporate fun songs or parts of songs, for example, for a grand entrance. Death metal grand entrance. That's who you are. Show your crowd who you are at that point. But let's keep the ceremony classy. Let's keep the rest of the music classy. Because I know your mom and dad listen to different music. Your mom and dad listen to different music. The grandparents. So I try to gather that info when I do a final planning meeting with clients. My planner form doesn't ask all those details. It only gets me the general info, and then I fill in the holes at that meeting, because I'll ask them, what did you guys listen to growing up? Did you go on road trips with your family where you listened to cassettes, 8 tracks, records? What did you put on? So I try to get them thinking back, because it's nostalgia. We have music brings back memories, and it can create memories. And that's, we associate people with songs all the time and places, and hopefully we're there to create happy moments. So dark opera, gangster rap, and death metal are 3 genres I avoid, but I embrace music. You were asking about even the Macarena, you brought it up. Like, I hate the song. I think it's annoying, but if the crowd's having a good time with it, great. And then I like to mess with my crowd a little bit. I have several different mixes of the Macarena, so how twisted I want to twist the audience up, I might play the most twisted version to confuse them as they're doing the Macarena, and it's like, aha, next song, moving on, So I don't know.
No, that's funny. I love the adding, just personality to the music and what people want. I mean, if I have another bride walking down to like 1,000 years or whatever, I mean, it is just nice to have like different stuff that does really speak to the couple versus like, oh, it's another Ed Sheeran song. Like, I mean, I think it's good that for the DJ to kind of pull that out a little bit more and try to figure out some more off the wall but still like appropriate stuff.
Yeah. And just to give you an example, I did a wedding last week down at Foss Waterway Seaport in Tacoma. And the bride was in a black dress. And she wanted to come down the aisle with her dad to Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress by the Hollies. What we did, though, she had, again, this is even her idea, but I like it when my clients are able to give me the creativity they want, because I'll execute for them. But we started playing the traditional wedding march and did a record scratch right into Long Cool Woman with a Black Dress. And so just little things like that. The groom even walked down the aisle by himself. So I went to the rehearsal. So at the rehearsal, without her knowing, I'm like, well, since she gets her song and you don't know what's going on, let's have you walk into something. And he's a big Johnny Cash fan. So he did Ring of Fire for him, for just the groom. Gets the audience loosened up a little bit, gets them laughing, and not so serious yet for the serious part of the wedding day. So I don't know. Again, music can set the tone.
It sounds like, what kinds of clients, do you find, work with you, couples that are attracted to you, and obviously couples that you're attracted to work with, to get kind of these fun and really personal moments? Yeah,
I think those that are quirkiest relate to me the best. Those two that are antisocial, I have a good way to even bring some social out of them for their wedding day, but if not, that's their comfort zone. So getting to know them and at least what's important to them, their guests might be more important to them. They want their guests to enjoy themselves. They don't care about how I mix the music, or maybe they do care about how I mix the music. Those clients that care about it and know about it, music being important, are my ideal clients. The ones that think the cake or their dress is more important probably aren't my client. Because it's not just about cake. Half the wedding cakes I see get thrown away at the end of the wedding. They don't even get eaten. And I feel like some things are just wasted at some weddings. And you always got to have a good DJ. And if not, invest in somebody that cares enough to spend a little bit more on equipment, on microphones that work and don't cut out. Technology like directional antennas for ceremonies. Up lighting that's battery powered, wirelessly controlled to set ambiance in the room, or anything really. I mean, we do custom logos, we do video slideshows, custom slideshows. I'm sure you've done your fair share being on your side, but all those little elements, I feel like if I can't do it, if it's technical in nature, I know somebody that can, and I can refer them to another professional that I know. So.
Yeah, no, just having the good equipment. I mean, this summer has been a lot of struggles with some DJs and planners. Kind of just, that was kind of it seems like our summer was had a lot of questionable back and forth, because it is so important, like, to the guests to be able to hear everything. I know that we attended one wedding this year in April in Spokane, so it was no one here, but. We couldn't hear anything. The toast, we're in the corner, we're behind a column, and here, Dorothy's gone to school with this girl forever, and like, we don't, we know the dad.
You were a guest at the wedding?
Yeah. And it's so, we're sitting there, I'm like, I can't even hear, I have no idea what they're saying. I have no idea. And we're totally taken out of it. Right. And it's those moments then that not having someone that knows what they're doing, or having the equipment, or putting the speakers in the right place, or having enough speakers for a room, that's always a thing too. I mean, it is at the end of the day, not that equipment trumps everything, but I do think it's important to have at least some level of that,
Yeah. Knowledge of audio gear, how it works, how it connects, and if you're having an issue, how to fix it quickly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think even when you and I did the same day edit at the Fairmont, it was the audio, because I hooked you up with the audio from the toast or something that night, and giving you the thumb drive or something like that. We had a compatibility thing, Mac PC or whatever, but whatever it was, you even had the solution for it. I can't remember what it was, but you're like, oh, I got it to work. It's all good.
Yeah, we had planned to do a same day edit, had brought in 3 people, to edit it. And then it was something with the USBs. It was like an exFAT file format versus something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, we've spent 8 hours putting this stupid thing together. If we can't get it to play, it's like, and it just,
that's right. It was the final video.
It was something with the technology. And it's like, even all the expertise in the world, we're sitting there and we're trying to figure out how to fit a square into a circle, or, you know what I mean? And
Totally.
a round peg into a square hole.
Yeah.
What is, just having done this so long, and I'm sure you could say a million different things, but what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the last 20 years, or importance on things now that maybe weren't important, or things?
I'm glad you asked that, because I wanted to talk about what I could see as either being a trend or something that's going to stick around a while, and something that is involved with your DJ. The one thing Adam's DJ service is going to be offering in 2020 is starting right now. I can offer a silent disco. And I'm curious, this is broken in at live concerts. It's broken at corporate events. I haven't seen a silent disco at a wedding yet, and I'm curious why not yet. There are so many venues that have noise restrictions, for one. And two, weddings, there are people that want to just talk. They don't want the noise to be that loud. And I think a silent disco is a good way to let people listen to what they want. For one, if you can not necessarily hire 3 DJs, but have 2 playlists going on the other 2 channels of your 3-channel unit, for example, while your DJ is on channel 3 or channel 1. And that way people can dance if they want to dance. They can take the headsets off, have conversation with somebody at the buffet or the bar, put their headsets back on, go dance. Or maybe they don't want to dance. Maybe they just want to chill out to the 80s music or the classic rock or whatever playing on channel 2. Or maybe it's a holiday party, or around the holidays, we got Christmas music on the 3rd channel. Grandma wants to tune into, Frank Sinatra singing Jingle Bells or whatever. I don't know. So I think that there's something there. I'm a resident on the DJ sessions, and we do silent discos at Golden Gardens or Gasworks Park every Saturday from 2 to 6. And something that we are offering for events is kind of the same thing. I've seen it work at an open house so far. We've seen it at, I was just at the Freak Night Festival, and somebody provided a silent disco there, seeing all these random people dancing randomly in the same area with 3 DJs up front. Very interesting. So I think I get a sense that the silent disco is kind of like the photo booth about 10 years ago. No one knew if it was going to be a trend. I think photo booths are around forever. It's just one of those things you got to have, whether it's an interactive booth or a green screen or something like that. It's just a cool thing. Silent disco could be a cool thing. I don't know. Yeah,
no, we were just down at the wedding MBA, and they did that at like the after party, the wedding wire and the knot merged now, but they had their whatever thing was, and I was getting ready to leave. I'm old and tired, but but a lot of people did that, and it was a huge hit, and it was cool because it's basically like you provide 50 headsets or 100 headsets, and then like you said, you can have like these ones, it was like green, blue,
red, green, and blue. Yep.
Yeah. So whatever channel you're on. So then, you can kind of see like, oh, here's all these people that are, it's a cool.
What we do with our sign. So we'll put red, green, and blue in front of the DJ so that you're tuning in, what color is which one you're listening to. Of course, I'd love to just be random and not know which one you're dancing to, but it is a neat concept, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
If it
even comes into the wedding world.
Is it just the cost of like getting all the headsets?
Yeah, right now you can get them in lots of, like you said, 50 or 100. The good ones cost anywhere between 50 and $100 a piece. So there's only a couple people in town that do have the ability to do it. I have 2 sources to get headsets from, 100 a piece. So I'm going to offer it for $1,000 as an add-on to any package, and then we'll just provide it. And of course, the issue of here's a headset that costs so much money. What are you going to do? So what they've done is they've take ID or a credit card and hold on to it until you get the headset back. So
no, because it's definitely no. But I mean, we do so many, like even like at Chateau Lille, a lot of the Woodinville places. We just had them up in Snohomish. There's all these homestead turned into a venue. And it is, you've got houses all the way down the street, and you have to, like, we had one, it's like 8:00, it's lights out, because, you're trying to be respectful of the neighbors. Well, like you said, if you have that, then you can keep the party going, and you don't have to worry.
Yeah. You don't have to put time restrictions as long as the noise ordinance isn't being broken. Right.
I just had a lot funny quick story. We did one at DeLille before it was Chateau Lille, and they did it like on a Monday. So I think it's like at 8:00, like it's a hard out on like a Monday. And it was the groom's whole family was from Scotland. And so they were all in kilts and the whole thing. And we're like packing up, and they've got this guy that had too much to drink, and he's out on the driveway, like playing the bagpipes like at 8:30. Nice. And they come running out like, no, cause it is a strict, thing that they'll bust you for.
Were they eating their haggis too?
There was a lot of, it was the whole thing.
Oh goodness. Gotta love it.
So how you said you started DJing in college? Yeah. So how did you just grow up with the love of music? I mean, walk me through kind of the origin story here. I want to hear how it all kind of started.
Yeah. Do you remember BMG or Columbia House? So they were distributors of music back in the 80s, and they had CD clubs. And being a young teenager, I was sucked into the CD club thing. So when CDs started coming out, I ran up a good till. My parents didn't like that so much, but started buying music and acquiring it on not only tape, but now CD. And let's just say I amassed a collection. I loved music. I didn't go to many concerts because I was a kid. But if we look at music specifically, I grew up on stuff like Elton John and Billy Joel from my mom. A little bit of Michael Jackson, Madonna too. She kind of like was the pop edge, but my dad was a rocker. I was always doing Led Zeppelin or Queen or even Dire Straits. Like my dad was into different music, but I broke off. I started listening to hip hop and then grunge after that. And then in the 90s, dance music, like big time. The cable or satellite that we had in college had radio stations that would come in. So we're like, oh, what's this Euro music here? So I got into like Euro style dance music in the 90s and started buying records and turntables and DJ. So I was playing music that was made in another country that wasn't popular here, but on the underground it was. So I made some mixtapes. Next thing you know, I'm being asked to play at venues in Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, bars, clubs, but mainly the underground scene was where my skills were wanted. And again, I think I told you it goes from a hobby to hey, I can capitalize on this point. And the other part was after opening for DJs and clubs, I just I got approached by an old friend who had been DJing full time since high school. And he thought, you should be doing this full time for a living. You're pretty good. So it was his inspiration that drove me to work for some mobile DJ companies, some established companies. None of them, well, one of them kind of exists still, but let's just say I didn't like how they were operating. I felt that they were taking advantage of people, not providing a good service and just in it for the coin. And so I started my own thing. I went through this process here. I'm pointing at my wedding ring right now, but I planned a wedding in 2002. And or I should say 2001, got married in 2002. And I learned about the wedding process, and it sucked me right in. I said, I need to be a part of this, because I'd attended several high school friend and college friends' wedding as a guest. And wow, every DJ sucked at all those weddings in one way or another. Showing up late, not dressed appropriately, not mixing music properly. Even some of the people I worked for. Again, you've been doing this 20 years and you can't mix two songs together? Oh, no, they don't do that at weddings. I went, what do you mean they don't do that at weddings? This was the advice I got from this professional. And so I thought, it's going to be wanted at weddings. People are going to want mixed music. They don't just want somebody hitting play on a song and letting the song end and then hitting play again. You got to at least fade them back and forth, even if they're not on beat. Nowadays, I'm mixing not only on beat, but in key, and really thinking about the creative flow of an event from that standpoint, from the musical standpoint. But I don't know. It all evolved from there. I did several weddings and events from 2003 to 2007. Did the multi-op thing, invested in business. I had a couple of operations managers that helped me out during that time. And again, having a family, working 120-hour weeks constantly, not a good thing. So we had to at least get that down to 60 to 80 hours. And the life goes on. I got to admit, weddings were a good chunk of not only why I do what I do, but they were a big percentage of the revenue I'd coming in. Now they're only about 50%. I do a lot of corporate work. I do a lot of fundraisers, multiple day corporate events. Retreats are some of my favorite events because I get to be the audio video guy during the day and the DJ at night. And so I feel I give value to those types of events, like the Swiss Army knife, so to speak. But again, weddings will always hold a special place in my in my heart, I should say. I don't know. I love. I love music. I don't hate anything, really. It's hard to get me to hate anything when it comes to music. So I have the passion for that. And then I guess even technologically, like you have your little setup here, Reed, I have been investing into video gear. So I'm going to start doing a web show, DJing in my garage called the Garage Sessions, where I'm just DJing live so people can tune in and listen to some house music. I'm a house music junkie. So it's kind of one of the things I have going on besides focusing on the weddings and the corporate events.
A lot of different spokes in the fire.
Wearing lots of hats, we try.
So when you were getting, starting your business back, I mean, I think nowadays, the whole like millennial kind of entrepreneurship, kind of everyone's starting stuff. I think it's a little more common now to be like, hey, I'm going to go be a whatever YouTube star, do whatever. But like back when you started, I mean, that was probably a little more rare, right? I mean, what was kind of the reaction from, family and friends and everything?
A lot of hesitation, a lot of, not backlash, but just like, it's it's still a hobby, because they see me doing it for family functions or at my own birthday party or whatever. So you get that, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's succeeding at this. But to me, you just keep going. Life goes, and I don't know. Just continue on enjoying what I'm doing. I don't know how much longer. I wish, being in my 40s now, I'm hoping to continue to about 60. I know not many people want to hire the old guy, but I do keep up with music pretty well. I don't know. There's the way you acquire music now is so much different. And that's I think what's changed the game. Like you said, if anybody says, hey, I just want to be a DJ, number one, they're probably going to buy a laptop, get some DJ software. And how do you start amassing a collection of music? It's all online now. So either you own subscriptions to streaming services or you got to start downloading some content. Because I had to buy it all on a disc, a record, or tape. And even with that, early record pools digitally, we're sending CDs every 2 weeks. Now I have a record pool I log into, and I get about 1,000 songs a week. It's stupid. A couple other different record pools that are a little bit more catered to DJs than just, I should say, underground DJs or dance DJs rather than mobile DJs. So I try to diversify where I'm getting my music from, and it's a lot different. I don't know. I wish people would be more into people that have put time into it, into building that music collection or whatever, rather than just relying on a Spotify or a YouTube. Because anybody can do that and fill in the holes, at least with that. I know karaoke is one of the other add-ons or services I offer. And I did one event this year where, and I offered as classic karaoke, right? I've got pretty much everything from 1950 to 2000 and change. But they want the Moana song. And it's like, oh, I don't have that, but hey, it's on YouTube. So I'm only imagining people, because I've gone, for example, and set up lighting for a wedding at an event where I'm not the DJ. And I see on the table where the DJ is, we're going to talk about pet peeves, I guess, right now. A laptop with maybe a mixer and a $200 mic. And the speakers aren't placed in the right place. The cables aren't taped down nicely. It's looking very unprofessional. But yet they hired me to come do uplighting at their wedding. Why couldn't they afford to hire a DJ that's a little more professional or whatever? So those are things that I take pride in, the appearance, the quality of the sound, the look, taping cords down on the floor where people are walking so people don't trip and fall or break anything or yank a cord out or whatever. So
yeah, it's tough because you were saying, when you kind of got into weddings and stuff that, people would show up late. I think back, basically, as I'm trying to construct this thought in my head, there's an overabundance of competition for any field nowadays, right?
Yeah.
A million photographers, a million videographers, a million DJs, whatever.
Yep.
And I do think back, 80s, 90s, you did get away with a lot more because there wasn't, you're like, well, I'm the wedding photographer. What are you going to do? Who are you going to find, right? And, or the DJ, or, hey, I'm like, this is what the videographer shows up. This is what I'm doing. And that's it, right?
Yeah.
And you do get a lot more competition nowadays, which I think raises people have to work a lot harder, to stand out and get business. But then you do still obviously get people that, like you said, show up with like a laptop and whatever. But my hope is that you, even with the one positive from having this abundance of competition is maybe it raises that bar up. So you do have to be that much better.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I've been trying to do is raise the bar, or at least make sure people know where the bar is, because they come into it not knowing what to expect. And I think back to when I was in my young 20s, I didn't know anything, but it was the experience and continuing to just do what I do to learn and wanting to learn. One of the things I've done, I guess, to be different than other DJs is to get to know other vendors, get to know what those videographers are doing behind the scenes, get to know what the photographers do to prepare, because they're doing a lot of post-production too. But what are they doing to prepare? I spent the night at a couple of photographers' houses, and I just because I wanted to know what you're charging batteries, you're cleaning your lenses, you're doing that. Like, whoa, now I understand what you're doing. This is cool. And even post production, watching guys work in Lightroom and adjust photos and make them look like. Now I know how they make them look so good, And so understanding that, I've gotten to know a lot of caterers, how the food's prepared, what goes into the process of an off-premise versus an on-premise, plated, buffet, family style. Where are we going? What is the BEO? If you're a DJ or a videographer, a photographer, you should know what a BEO is. It's banquet event order. So just those little things of being attached to people in the industry, again, can help set you apart as well. Understanding how to work well with others, play nice in the sandbox, as they say. Right?
Yes. Well, no, like I just worked a wedding a couple weeks ago, and I knew the DJ, and I saw, obviously I was talking to him, and but now I talk to the DJ anyway, because we got to figure out audio and what are you doing, and how is that going? Yep. And then obviously I'm talking with the photographer all day because we're working along, but they didn't interact, I don't think, at all until way late in the night. And it's like, oh, hey, I'm like, well, why didn't you guys should be talking too,
Yep.
We're all and knowing, and and then they come up to me, and not at this wedding, but photographers will come up and they'll say like, we're getting ready for the entrance and they didn't say anything to me, or I'm like, well, you got to talk to everybody, I'm bugging with everybody. And so people keep
or
me
just
in the
be
loop.
ready.
Yeah. But it's like, people do need to talk. And like, I think that's important. And like you said, like you as a DJ, talking to caterers, knowing that, how long does it take to set up stuff? How long do I need, do I need to fill time here? And, because you're kind of controlling, a lot of that, the pace and atmosphere, of the reception.
One of the things that I do differently nowadays too is I used to require a table with a matching linen so that I didn't stick out like a sore thumb if everybody's in some fancy linen, I'm in a black or white or plain cream or whatever. Is I do offer to bring, I have a DJ booth that's wrapped in either white or black, and then I have white, black, or purple because that's my business color, for just a smaller table that I can bring as even a table back. Because nowadays I'm just setting a coffin on a stand for something basic, if not the booth, and unless they want me with their table with their specialty linen. So just discussing all those options ahead of time is so key, in addition to, the music and obviously the obvious things that that you should be discussing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's the people that are getting into it and aren't, in any field and aren't doing that necessary like prep work and just, showing up. And like I talk to photographers all the time. Video guy showed up, never even had no clue they even existed until the wedding day. Right. And It's like, even little stuff like that, let alone, like you said, trying to figure out, okay, what are the colors here so I can match, and trying to be, as nondescript as possible. It's stuff that people that are getting into it just don't think about.
Yeah. What's, you kind of touched on something. You brought a thought to my head here about what is the proper way? Because one of the things I struggle with as a DJ, I have a lot of photographer friends and whatnot, but I would love to gather some pictures from that event that I did with them. Is there a proper protocol other than asking them at the event, reaching out after the event? Because sometimes I get them and they send you to a website that's got all the pictures and they say pick them. That kind of thing. Because it's easier for them to do that rather than, I don't know. You know what I mean? Is there a proper protocol to that? Have you been approached by vendors? Hey, can I get some video from that wedding? Or
I think, I think every photographer needs to do that. I think if you're a fool, if you don't reach out after, if I'm a photographer and there's 10 vendors and I work with a lot of photographers that do that, right? Like the Lloyds are phenomenal with that, Amanda and Steven. And they, they once they deliver, obviously the client gets first, whatever. And then a week or two later, they send everything to us. I have struggled with that with video. I had a big point of last year in the off season. So this time last year to kind of like go through and email vendors and say, hey, here's the video. And cause I have the lists of everything, whatever. Ultimately, I didn't do that because for whatever reason, video does not carry the same importance as
photography or
and we can debate that or not.
No,
but as for whatever reason, if I'm a wedding planner, the idea of having 5 or 6 quality photos of whatever, that's something I can do. I can do stuff with that. I can put it on my website. I can post it on social media. I can whatever you want to do. I can print a flyer out of it with proper credit, obviously. With video, it's like, well, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
Now I do have smart planners and florists and stuff that do have that on their website and do have, weddings that we've done or stylized shoots and, you open it up and you do that. But I do just think it's like, well, what do I do with this? And so I ultimately didn't email everybody last year because I'm like, if I email 1,000 people and only 3 do anything with it, was it worth it?
No,
but I do think the photographer, I think it's on them you should be emailing everybody.
Well, to me, it's a way to connect too. And I'm okay with even getting a watermark. Because if I use the picture that shows the room I lit in my lighting sample to my client and they go, oh man, that looks great. Who shot that picture even? I've had people go, who shot that? And I have to tell them because they didn't give it to me, the watermark or whatever. Because when I take pictures, they don't look good at all,
No, it's a huge thing. I mean, we were just at an open house and they had photos up from another photographer outside of a space where a different photographer was. And that was, there was a big deal because they had said, no, you can't, you're going to have these, because people see those and then they think, oh, who shot that photo? That's what I want. And then if you're, it's a big thing. It's giving that credit and having that. But no, I think that ultimately the photographer, and maybe I'll do it this off season, but email everybody out. Yeah. Like I said, I think the use of, for a lot of vendors is getting those 5 or 6 photos.
Yeah. I guess for me, what I do is I record the audio from the event, whether it's toast and ceremony audio or the dance portion. And sometimes the dance portion was so awesome that I share one a year from a wedding so that people can keep up with my mixing style. But I don't think a lot of people realize my mix at every event is going to be different. It's going to be catered to your requests by the artists you like, the songs you like, your family coming up to me during the event. Those kinds of things. And this is why I even go to the rehearsal sometimes, is getting the aunts or moms to give you that song that, oh, she knows all the lyrics to this. She would go crazy if she heard it. And you're like, Why didn't she tell me that when we met? So you get that info, and then you throw that song out there and surprise them, and they're blown away. It's just those little things, those little moments you create. So I don't know. Coming back to the photo thing, I wish there was a better way for me to capture what I do to show people. And I've even thought about stop motion, showing just the setup and the teardown, because a lot of time goes into the setup, a little bit less goes into teardown because you're trying to get out, get home. It's been a long day. But I don't think people realize the amount of time we vendors put in. It's not just the 8 hours that day. There's a lot of prep, and there's a lot of there's more post on the video and photography, but I'll go in and do, chops and edits, and then I have to downsize from WAV to MP3 and then upload it to a website, and then I share the link in my thank you email. So just a process. And I know listening to one of your previous podcasts, you guys talked about automation. And one of the things I've been looking for in a CRM for DJs or for the event world is to automate those little processes, the reminders that I have to look at my spreadsheet for or get my reminder in my email program. That I don't want that. I want it to just happen. But the other thing you guys had talked about was it could blow up in your face too, with happy anniversary and my husband died or whatever, So yeah, I get that, but it's something that I've personally been looking for, because I feel it'll allow me more time to do what I need to do and take away from all those little tedious things that can be automated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's tough. I have an intricate weave of Google Docs and web plugins or whatever, but it works for me, and it's tied into a couple different things.
Yeah.
And earlier this year, it was in what, like, if it happened now, it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but something happened where Google revoked the access, because if you have third party stuff, and they have revoked it. And so a lot of the things that I relied on to remind me about, hadn't been happening for a couple of days, but it wasn't, luckily it wasn't weeks had gone by, but it was just a couple of days. And I'm sitting there, and Dorothy came home, and I was like, this is a bad day. I didn't really need to kind of figure out what's going on. Because, that's the problem when you rely on a lot of that automation, and then if it goes away, and then you're like, oh crap. Because I have reminders set to send out questionnaires and reminders and things. And so then, like I said, luckily it had only been a couple of days, but I had not sent out certain things that I needed to, and I have enough padding that it's fine. But it's a double-edged sword when you like it, and then it's, if it goes away, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. Well, you just reminded me of a point in my career where I decided to host my own email on a server on my network, because Comcast or somebody, one of my hosts, can't remember how back, it's a good 10 plus years, but just when you start getting a barrage of phone calls and texts, where are you at? Why aren't you here? Whatever. What do you mean? Well, I emailed you this, and why aren't you getting back to me? And I'm like, what do you mean? I never got your email. So when you go without getting any email for 2-3 days, and it's the important stuff, you're getting all your spam, you're getting emails, it appears you're getting email. But no, that's the bad one. So I'm so anal about it. I have a backup server, an offsite backup for my email, that if my server goes down, it's backed up, and it will remain functional 24/7. So I'm just, I always have a backup to the backup to the backup. I don't know how you guys do it in video world. I know you might put 2 mics on somebody in case one goes bad or whatever, but when I prepare music, I am preparing it on 3 platforms now. I hope I don't have to get to the second or even the third. The first works great, but I wish that one platform would do all I needed it to do. There's a few things that it doesn't. So I do rely on a platform I've been using since 2006 that does all of my, for example, music during cocktail hour and the meal, because it auto fades better than any other program that's out there. And it's hardware. It's not software. So it's one of those things, like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. and you keep using what you use and what you're comfortable with. So me, I still use Outlook. I still use spreadsheets. And I wish I could find a good CRM that would allow me to host it myself and not be cloud-based, because I would like to have access to all of it at all times and not depend on some server that I don't even know where it is.
Oh, Steph, I had a big thing this year where I was on, so I'm an Apple, Mac, whatever guy. And like, if you call, if anything is wrong with your anything and you call, you have to call like 6 times before you actually talk to someone, right? It's the first guy knows as much as you and I. And then, it's just like, it'd be like me working there and I don't, but I had a thing and I was like, this is not like basically like if you had an email on like your laptop and then your iPad, it wasn't syncing. So you would send it on one and it wouldn't be on the other, whatever.
Yep.
And I mean, it was like, a couple weeks and they had to escalate. I talked to some whatever, because it's like
DNS or name server issue or something. But crazy.
But when it's us and it's customer service and it's your business and it's your life and you're trying to explain to these people, this is your livelihood, is making sure, like you said, that you have those emails, that if something changes or you need to be somewhere, or the event, we just had an event, our event Saturday, I emailed them yesterday or the day before, hey, just checking in, this time. Oh, no, we have a totally different location now. Oh. Well, I'm glad. I mean,
thanks for letting me know.
It's, it's fine. And I'm glad, but like, what if I had not gotten that response? And
you would have been unprepared.
But so it's the technology, it's kind of that double-edged.
It can be. I was going to share a little something with you. I forgot what it was. A little technology blurb that sometimes it fails you at the most inopportune times. I was at just a corporate AV event recently, and I use a mixer and iPad to connect to my mixer through a wireless router. And for some reason it was connecting, but it wasn't connecting. It was saying, hey, I'm connected, but I'm not seeing anything. Like, dude, I'm 10 feet away. And there's no hard way to do it unless you hook up a Cat 5. And I had no access to my Cat 5 because here's the stage and here's the audience. Here's our live stream. Here's everything going on. I'm not going to start taking stuff out of my rack and readjust it, So it was a very frustrating thing. I had my IT guy on the phone, even as he's at work, just trying to kind of get this to work. Because luckily I had a couple open mic channels that we were just switching mics at this point, because I had designated mics for each speaker. It's like, oh, your mic's closed, his is open, so use his. The client still didn't realize that 4 out of 5 hours I was struggling to make something work and pretty much on backup plan B. Oh, really? You were having problems? I'm like, oh my gosh. The video guys luckily kind of knew that I was working with, but the clients had no clue. And so they sent me a gift card and thanked me for everything. And I'm just like, wow, that was just such a crazy, that was my one event this year where I just kind of struggled through the whole thing. And you get that every year or two.
Yeah, but it's like you said, it's having those backups and stuff,
Just like you get the drunken guest at a wedding that wants to come either be a jerk, ruin their friend or guest, whoever's wedding it is for some reason. I don't know, wants to fight the DJ over the song he's playing or the song he's not playing. I have a good way to handle that now, and it's worked great. And I got to give my buddy Scott Doolin some credit, DJ Mac Long, for the advice, because it works great. And what had happened at an event, I'll just to give you this one. This is a good one. We're at a wedding down at one of the Soto venues, we'll just say. Yeah. And a guy got in my face. This is the third time somebody had gotten in my face at being drunk. This is one of those weddings where there was way too many people and open bar. And finally, a third straw. I mean, I got on the mic, turned off the music, was like, somebody get this a-hole out of my face. Best man saw everything, so he dragged this guy out and threw him out of the wedding. This is a guest, the friend of a guest. No one knew who he was, but he's flipping me off, telling me I suck and F you, and just like all this stuff. Like, we're trying to have fun here. This guy's ruining it. But according to my client, who's still a friend, because it was his daughter's wedding. The grandparents in the back. First thing they saw was me saying, "Get this a-hole out of my face." So now I'm the a-hole. And it gave me that perspective to learn this. And so what I do now is I'll turn the music down if somebody's being an idiot and say, "Hey, you guys having fun?" Because the rest of the crowd is going to go, "Yeah, we're having fun." Somebody give this guy a hug. Doesn't look like he's having fun. And then turn the music back on. And then that's my signal. So my clients know, their security guard, whoever is their designated emergency contact, they all know that if I say that on the mic, there's somebody that needs to be tossed, or else I'm turning off the music and I'm going. But again, how's it come to that? Because usually we point out that person, it's solved in a nice manner, and I'm just the DJ that asked to give somebody a hug. I'm not the a-hole. You ever had any of those experiences at a wedding? As a videographer, I probably not.
Generally not. You get the Uncle Bob that's in the way every once in a while. And, we went down to Portland for a wedding, and, walking in front, we're trying to film the first dance, and we're walking in front, and, and I told him, I said, we're the pro here, can we please, everyone else, even the photographer, is being polite enough to walk behind it. I mean, he did get really upset about it. And he said, well, I'm Uncle so-and-so, and I've known this family a million years and all this stuff. And I said, well, I understand that. But I said, everybody else is being respectful and walking behind. You're the only one in the room that's standing in front of the camera. And you are ruining, you ruin parts of their first dance video because I can't do my job if you're standing in front of it. So it's, you're trying to explain that, and I'm not generally trying to be, I'm just looking out for the client. And it could be, it could be the photographer getting in the way. It could be a guest. It could be my assistant, anybody. I mean, it's all about the client experience. And that's all I'm there for. And I don't care, we just had a wedding on, I guess it was on last Friday, and you had, the cell phone guy, opposite, photo and video, the whole first dance. Right.
Yeah.
And, this was a particular case where we're not, basically they just hired us to kind of do the reception and stuff for them. So this isn't going to be like a spotlight video I'm going to use for a million years. So it's okay, but at that point you kind of want to go up to them and be like, what are you ever going to do with this?
Yeah.
You ruined every photo. You ruined the whole video. Two photographers meet, you ruined everyone's shots. You're 2 feet away opposite of them the whole time. And what are you ever going to do with this? You're never going to do anything with it. It's like you see the photographers post, and there was that one that went viral about the cell phone going into the aisle and it autofocused, and the photographer wrote some big thing, and what are you going to, it was a whole thing this year.
That's funny. Yeah.
But, that's just my thing is people, for whatever reason, yelling at people, are just taking away from what, the client experience.
And then that's something I ask my clients too. Who has precedent over the other? Like photographer rule, video, if they have a videographer, I'm going to watch out for them. If photo and video is important to you, because you can always have those rules, put your cell phone in the basket for the ceremony or whatever. There are those you can go that far, but I think it shouldn't go that far. And I did a wedding at the WAC, it was a few years ago. And I remember a couple going up to cut their cake. Again, so I don't invite people to gather around like back in the day, I guess people used to. But the photographer's sitting down on her knees on this side of the dance floor, and the cake's over there. And she's getting one of those long, she wants the whole kind of room, but the bride and groom only. And this dude walks right up with his cell phone, 2 feet behind the bride and groom. And the photographer looks at her assistant, like rolls her eyes, shakes her head, looks over at me, and I did the same thing to her. So I got on my mic and I said, well, the guy with the iPhone behind the bride and groom, please step back and let the professional get this shot. And he kind of looks back. The whole room laughed, and I felt kind of bad for the guy, but not, because he just, oh yeah, totally got out of the way. Photographer gave me a thumbs up, got her shot, that kind of thing. So, kind of weird.
It's tough. You don't want to be, you're just trying to look out. But we had and this, then I'll segue on, but we shot this 2-day wedding earlier this year. It was a lot, big, 2 whole separate days, photo, video, everybody, we're all DJ, everybody's there, 2 different days.
Love those events, by the way. I call that the weekend package.
Yeah,
Let me come to your rehearsal and DJ for that rehearsal, and then let's all have a hungover breakfast on Sunday together.
Yeah,
when it's all said and done.
Yeah, the 4.5 hours of edited deliverables I just gave them would speak otherwise. It was a long weekend, but
nice.
But they had the whole ceremony, big loud ceremony, and this guy with a phone, and he did, it was fine, and I didn't say anything, much to the chagrin of my assistant was wanting me to say it. But finally, he was trying to like run by, and he like kind of elbowed, like really kind of knocked me. Wasn't intentional, but like one of those things I'm trying to get by him. And I went over to him and he goes, "Hey, I didn't mean to hit you." And I said, "Well, if you knew how much money was being spent on everything else around you right now, you would not have bumped me that way."
Yeah. Because
we are just trying to honor the client and in our contract. Yeah. And the tons of money they've spent on this. Yep. It's you need to, your cell phone or, whatever shot does not trump that, especially when you're never going to do. I mean, this was a 3-hour, literally. Well, okay. It was the edited ceremony video was like 2 hours and 10 minutes. So this is that's a long
for the ceremony alone.
Yeah, this is a 2-cam straight cut, 2 hours and 10 minutes was that part of it. You're telling me you on your cell phone, you're going to do like, what even part of that did you get? What even segment of anything did you get? Yeah. We're rolling 2 cameras, all these batteries, all these cards, all this for 2 hours and 10 minutes. And you're trying to, but then you're getting in the way. So
yeah. Oh man. That's just a pain, right?
Yeah. What do you want? We're rounding down here. I want to do some positive.
Totally.
What do you want people to know more about you? I mean, I think you've spoken a lot about, obviously backups, having plans, experience, lots of time. This could be personally or professionally, but what do you wish more clients knew about you and the work you do and who you are as a person?
Oh, geez.
It's tough.
Yeah, I could go on about the fact that I don't nickel and dime my clients. I give them a good value and understand they may have something that's more important that they want or need than something else that might be included or offered. So I'm willing to do some leeway there. I feel like my flexibility and just being able to give people what they want, what they need, and even surprise them with some things that they would like when it comes down to it. Is what can, I guess, separate me from the rest. Not only the equipment that I've invested in and the knowledge I've acquired in audio, video, and lighting world, production world. I don't know. You kind of stumped me there. I had another thought I wanted to convey about being licensed and insured too, and not many people understand why you want to have a business license, but to me, I would think if you're somebody hiring someone, you want to have someone that's legitimate, not somebody who's going to run off your money. Being insured, I've never filed a claim with the exception of a theft, an occurrence of theft that I actually got my equipment back and was able to cancel the insurance claim before it went through. But to me, if you go into a venue and your equipment catches fire and you do damage to that venue, for example, this is one of the worst case scenarios I try to always convey. Worst case scenarios, I even have a death clause in my contract. What happens if I die between the time the client hires me and their wedding day? I have a backup plan in place for them. And if not, they're guaranteed their money back. I don't know how many other DJ companies put that in their contract, but it's showing that hopefully I've taken what I've learned and I've applied it to real life and how to help people succeed at having weddings, at least good solutions for their weddings. So,
yeah, there was just another story on Facebook today. I think Cairo did it. Like another photographer kind of ran with some money. A bunch of people had booked stuff, and they booked like a lot of mini sessions and stuff really quick. And then, they a bunch of people paid up front. They don't have anything. And it's just so disheartening, especially after like the landing at Taiji this year and now the Monte Cristo, and now this. Mm-hmm. And it's just so frustrating because I do think it's going to be harder even with people that are licensed and insured and reputable. The more stories you see, people would just get gun shy. And it is disheartening to think that, anybody would have to second guess anything with going with people that are, good to go, but it's tough. And, I just worry that that's going to become a trend now. And even the news anchor was saying like, well, make sure you don't, just don't pay anything up front. Don't pay up front without your thing. Well, how,
Who's saying that?
That's what they said on the news. Don't
pay anything up front.
They said don't pay up front
for wedding professionals.
Yeah. Well, this was a photographer, but but so you're getting to a point now where, obviously like we take a deposit and then we, our payments due by the wedding day because then we perform
7 days prior in my case. Yeah.
And so what I'm just, there was concern as you could imagine from lots of, people that you and I know about saying, well, what happens if that, continues to go. And then, it gets to be, so it's scary.
Small claims. I just won a settlement yesterday.
Yeah.
And unfortunately this was a situation that was just very unique, and it was so unique that my risk was low for how I proceeded, but it was a very last minute event. It was booked on a Wednesday, essentially verbally, never got a signed contract, but I sent the contract to this client who claimed to be and was an excellent MC and somebody who I had met 10 years previous. And his friend was becoming a judge. And so this was a party for his judgeship. Matter of fact, I voted for the guy, right? So, and it's at a venue that I'm very familiar with. The event went off without a hitch. I even took the guy home after he helped me pack up that night. I never got paid. In the weeks and month leading, past that event, communication, email, phone, text, promises of meeting up and money and this and that, and lies that the campaign fund from the judge will pay for it. We'll just write you a check next week, and just nothing. I got a default judgment. Granted, it wasn't as much as I wanted with my late fees. The guy owes me money now, and I got to go after him. It's a pain in the butt. But hindsight is always 20/20. I asked a few colleagues in our industry if they knew this guy. A couple of them knew exactly who it was. One of them was his former business partner. Oh yeah, don't go near that guy. I wish there was a way for us to point out those bad vendors, those vendors that we have bad interactions with, without it coming back to haunt us. Because I honestly feel like people they get into tight situations sometimes where their life is more important than whatever. I get that. But you don't need to be doing wrong by people to get back on track or whatever, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I wish there was a way to do that. I found out a statistic that about 80% of all the DJs on Wedding Wire, for example, don't even have a business license in this state. 80%. Oh, that's me clapping. Sorry.
That's okay.
To me, that it's disturbing because it's an unlevel playing field when the guy with the laptop and the music he didn't pay for and the $200 speakers and the $200 mic is going to come to your wedding, rather than the guy who's got backup everything and is invested into speakers that are really amazing and microphones that work well. And I don't know, to me, it's befuddling how that happens, especially if you're at a nice venue like a winery in Woodinville and you hire somebody like that. But to each his own, right? What's important to everybody's different. And I get that. So I just continue to roll on and help the clients that reach out to me and want a good DJ for their wedding.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and obviously, you have the track record in the years and, the events under your belt. And I do think that, you just keep on. And I think ultimately, the good kind of prevails of that, I do. Yeah. So I think there's enough smart people in this world, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. Right.
This has been such a great, we could talk for hours, such a great time. You coming in.
We could talk about gear for hours too. I know the video gear, audio gear, and whatnot. But yeah.
If people want to learn more about you and your businesses and what you work on and what you do, where would you have them check out?
A lot of places, if you don't mind me plugging them all. Obviously, adamsdjservice.com is my mobile DJ website. nweventlighting.com is the lighting website. I have my underground, my house music, my DJ moniker is DJ Tigro. That's DJTGRO.com. I do club and bar bookings through that site. I do most of the mobile bookings and corporate bookings through the Adam's DJ service. The occasional lighting gig, helping people light up their wedding through the lighting website. And be on the lookout. We might have Adam's AV service actually becoming official this year. So with that said, the DJsessions.com is a live streaming, I guess, a site that we're tied to. We put videos up of when we do live streaming on Twitch. You'll see me DJing in the back of trucks on those silent discos at Golden Gardens or Gasworks Park in Seattle on Saturdays. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell right now.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah, well,
thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
If you're like Adam and you are interested in coming on the podcast, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest. And that's a nice, easy questionnaire link to fill out to kind of get you in the system. Did you have something else?
No, not at all. You kind of drained me on my content. I'm thinking about a lot of stuff.
That's good. That's
I appreciate that.
We'll schedule a follow up.
Totally.
This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. Check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thanks so much.